Wow, what a day it has been. What a day, what a day, what a day, what a day. It's been amazing. I'm feeling blessed today and hopeful. And also, I feel inspired because I am able to inspire someone today. I hope that the past weeks have been such an inspiration to your lives that you are now applying wisdom to your days. I hope also that these past few podcasts, they have been an inspiration to you, that you are learning to be gentle with yourself, love yourself, surround yourself with people who sees your value and the worth that is upon your life. And in saying that, persons keep saying, wow, Aura, you really look nothing like what you have been through or where you come from. That's the whole idea, as I keep saying. We don't have to look like the injury we've had or the hurt or the damage that we've endured. And it goes to show that there is hope, because, for example, if a vehicle meets in an accident, sometimes the damage is so great that we may think it is irreparable or it cannot be repaired. And sometimes the damage looks so great that we may say to ourselves, we have to replace the vehicle. But after doing assessment, or the professionals do their assessment, we recognize that the damage is though great, we can, or it can be repaired. Thank you for those who are just joining in. And that example of a vehicle that is damaged, it goes to show that if a vehicle that has been in an accident can be assessed and be repaired, so too our injuries or brokenness or hurt can be repaired. We don't have to look like the scars, because when a vehicle is repaired, sometimes, or maybe all the time, an individual may not be able to recognize or even be able to identify the direct spot on the vehicle that was damaged. And when we allow God to assess our hearts, when we allow God to assess our minds, when we allow God to assess our emotions, then, and we trust his assessment, because when we allow God to assess us and we trust his assessment, we can guarantee that he is gonna restore, repair, and replenish us. We're gonna be whole, not just part healing, but wholesome healing. And in saying that, or sharing that example, or wanting to encourage you here, I would like to jump into what today's stream is going to be about. And we often hear bloom where you are planted, but the truth is, a lot of individuals struggle to bloom, whilst others bloom beautifully, and some may even bloom slowly. Yes, some may even bloom slowly. And with blooming, or not understanding the nature of how we ought to bloom, it can cause us to become doubtful. We can doubt ourselves. And some of us struggle with blooming where we're planted because of what society may negatively impact us directly or indirectly, right? And some of those things that we may struggle with because of what society says may be like, for example, we may start, before I get into some of the examples, right? When that kind of thing happens, when the impact starts taking place, there's a whole lot of disturbances that can start happening, right? And in paying attention to what society says about how, when, where, and at what point in our lives we should bloom, we're gonna find ourselves in some even more serious challenges, because we have not sit still to understand that God is the one who really determines where, how, when, and at what point in time in our lives we bloom. Added to, there are some things that we ourselves need to do as individuals, yes? Because nothing happens by chance, correct? And our lives can maybe be compared to plants. Plants, we have all different kind of plants here on this earth, and not all plants bloom at the same time. Not all plants can take the same soil, the same amount of water, the same type of temperature, and stuff like that. And also with plants, there is some added things that we have to do. We have to maybe add some form of what's it called, fertilizer and things like that, right? Now, if we don't understand who we are, then we'll start making comparisons to others, and that's a huge error. It's a huge error because we don't understand who we are, or because of what society says, we may lose focus of who we are, or lose sight of who we are. Because of comparison, we may feel insecure. For example, society may, or individuals may ask the question, how is it that at this stage or age of your life, you have not yet accomplished a particular thing? How is it that at this stage and age of your life, you don't understand how to do a particular thing? Now, what these individuals may not understand in society is that because we're all so different, we are not all necessarily made to be at the same level at the same time. And because they may pose this question to us or to you as an individual, it can also cause us to feel intimidated, feel inferior, become angry at ourselves. We may be so hard on ourselves that we start criticizing ourselves. We may even criticize others, and sometimes there's a little spin right there. When we start criticizing others, sometimes it can be because of our insecurity not yet blooming where or how we're supposed to be. So we may think that the person may think that they're better than us or something like that. And that may not be necessarily so because of our insecurities and because we have taken on what society says about how, when, and where and at what time we should start blooming. The other thing about that is sometimes blooming is dependent on what we're exposed to. Now remember, I spoke about how we can compare ourselves to plants. The plants, if they're exposed to too much or too little sun, it can add to the blooming life of a plant. Now, it depends on what we're exposed to or how much we understand, what we understand about our blooming nature or the access we have to resources or experiences and stuff like that. Sometimes these elements are what gives other individuals an advantage over some. This is what gives some individuals a greater leverage. It gives them that broader view of certain things. Needless to say, sometimes because these persons may be exposed or understand or have access to resources, they may not also understand why you have not yet bloomed at the level or to the level that you're supposed to just yet. It's not to say that you will never bloom, but we have to understand that kind of thing. And some of the ways that I think that society affects us indirectly is because of what society says. We may lose, we may not understand how to tap into who God has created us to be. We've lost sight of that, right? We've lost sight of not understanding how uniquely made we are as individuals. We may not understand that our gifts and our talents differs, and they differ for a reason, they differ for a cause. And we may also not understand that my destination is not your destination. What I am called to is not what you're called to. Therefore, sometimes when we tap into that and we understand those things, it will be easier or quicker for us to know how to nurture us ourselves, which is like a plant. To nurture, if we understand how to nurture the gifts and the talents that God has given us, if we understand how to nurture and till the soil, as we would say with a plant. If we know how to do that, if we understand how to do that, then it won't be so easy for us to compare ourselves to others. Mark you, sometimes there are persons who will throw things in others' face because they're at a greater advantage. No, those who compare themselves or lose sight or focus of who they are, they must not miss this one most important thing. And the most important thing, or things rather, is that we all have flaws. We all face challenges. We all have weaknesses. But what the persons who may be ahead does not share is that while they're blooming, they came upon some little pebbles that was, in their way. They may not have shared that even though they had the resources, they did not quite fully understand how to make use of all the resources. Yes? And because of that which we share, it's a commonality. So though we are different, there are some things that we have in common. So we have to learn to recognize that because a person may be blooming before another, it doesn't mean that, you should let that deter you from blooming. And as I made mention of deterring, sometimes too, because we compare ourselves, it can hinder us from getting or going or doing what is necessary to encourage our blooming stages. Yes? Now, there's another thing that we share in common as individuals. We all have strengths. Yes? Our strengths may not look the same, but with the strengths, for those who compare themselves, they forget that they have strengths and end up focusing on the weaknesses or the flaws or the challenges. And added to that, because of what society says, you are at this age in your life and you have not yet understood this or achieved this, and what purpose do you serve? And I can remember a few years ago, not so long ago, I struggled with understanding why I was here, what my great purpose in life is or was. And it's something that I was praying about, I was seeking God on or about. I was really even becoming frustrated. I was becoming frustrated with myself because I saw others around me who were blooming, and because I did not understand the nature of who God really created me to be, I lost sight and focus of who I was. And I was so caught up in everybody's blooming stages, I was celebrating them blooming. And celebrating others is excellent, because the Bible tells us that we should rejoice with others. We should rejoice for them. It's amazing to do. But if we're not very careful, we can get so caught up in everything about others and forget us, right? And with all of that happening, I was becoming angry too at myself and saying, why can I not figure out why I am here? And I do believe, or did believe at the time strongly, that I am here for a great purpose. I strongly believe that I am here to do something great. I strongly believe that God created me uniquely and designed me so perfectly to do something awesome in this earth that would impact lives, but I just did not understand how, why, where, when, or what. Yes? And I remember I was asked the question more than once, with like things like when certain questions were asked, like, how is it that you don't understand how to do it? How is it that you don't know how to do this? How is it, why is it? And at your stage or your age in life, you should know. And I was so angry too at the persons, because they could not understand why I did not yet know what my life is about. And some of the reasons why they did not know was, one, though I tried to explain, but they could just not understand it. One reason was because of becoming a teenage mom, I had to grow up very quickly. I had to become mature and become a mother, an adult, quickly. So I had no time to be a teenager. I had no time to enjoy the life or the lovely things that teenagers do. I had to focus on this human being that I brought here on this earth. I had to focus and do my best to nurture, care, love, and provide and protect this child. So in doing so, I wasn't able to identify with anything almost, except to be a young mom who has to just do what she had to do. One of the other reasons I did not understand how to really answer the questions persons used to ask me, or I used to get angry at them and frustrated with myself, is because of becoming a teenage mom and I just did not have time to focus on me. It was just about my older daughter. And one of the other thing is, growing up, I think in our culture and in some homes, or the culture of some homes, some parents do not really understand how to really show, or they don't understand the delicacy of what blooming should be, right? So that sometimes can create an issue, and that was one of the main parts of it for me, why I just could not understand or answer the questions persons used to ask. And I remember crying sometimes at nights when I'm alone, because like I mentioned, when we don't understand who we are, and we don't and we lose sight or focus of who we are and stuff like that, you know, the frustration, the anger, and all that kind of thing sets in. And I can remember there was a time I cried so much, and I had to say to God, Lord, why am I not yet able to identify with who I am or what I'm to do? And when the Lord made me to understand it is because of my experiences growing up, that was a part of it, and the teenage pregnancy, I started becoming one with who God created me to be, because then I started recognizing that what I experienced, it did not take away from my worth or who God created me to be. It actually was adding value to me. But because I did not understand that in the earlier stages of it all, I really did not understand how to express myself when persons would ask me the question. I would just react out of frustration or anger. And I can remember my older daughter once said to me when I shared with her, she said to me, Mommy, you know, sometimes what we experience, it is not necessarily for everybody to understand, and where you're going is different from where those persons are going. Wow. That young lady encouraged me so much with just that little statement made right there. It quickened me, it encouraged me, it inspired me, and it brought revelation to something that I did not yet comprehend. After that conversation I had with her, I sat with myself and I replayed what she said over and over and over and over until I got it. And when I got it, I was now able to move with greater power and confidence, because I was now slowly blooming. I was now able to not really look or pay attention to what others are saying. Mind you, I do have persons who celebrate me, celebrate my growth, or celebrate how I'm blooming, but it really had to do with me not understanding my blooming stage. Yeah. And one of the other things is that because we keep looking to the left and to the right and listening with this ear and that ear, we're not able to be in tune with what God is saying. And with all of that said, causes us to start settling with what society says, because you're at age 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, even 60, because you do have persons who are more mature in age who have not yet accomplished anything or certain things, or they want to pursue greater things. And because maybe the majority of society, or again what society says, that when you're by the age of 30 you should be married, you should maybe have kids or have a child, you should already be functioning in a corporate career and stuff like that. But it has nothing to do with what society says. It all has to do with what God says. And with Abraham and Sarah, they had their child in an old age. Yes. And it was not what about others say. It was about what God said. Mind you, sometimes God can be directing us, showing us where we ought to be planted or how we ought to bloom. And we may scoff at what God says, which is, that's not good. But we may do that simply because of not comprehending how awesome, powerful and great God is, and how much He loves and cares about our entire being, and why we're here, and how we ought to live and impact the lives of others. Jesus was here. He impacted the lives of many. He fulfilled His purpose here on earth. He bloomed where He was planted. Wherever He went, He bloomed. He was an exception. He cannot be compared to any plant. Might I just say that right there? Yeah? He can't be compared to any plant. Jesus is amazing that He can just bloom anywhere. He can do just what about anything He wants to do, whenever, wherever, however, because He's all sufficient, right? But I just want to close by saying that I would want to say to you, sit with yourself today, tomorrow, whenever you're able to tune in. For those who will be watching or listening on the replay, ask yourselves, what pace are you at? Are you at the pace of what others think, or how others think you should be at? Ask yourself, what has caused you to lose your focus of who God created you to be? Ask yourself, why do I compare myself to others? What makes them greater than I am? Or are they greater than I am? Are they better than I am? Aren't we all human beings? Ask yourself this question also. I have flaws, right? So if I have flaws, then it is possible others may have flaws, weaknesses, or challenges. But with great strengths, you can build upon those, and for the weaknesses, you can develop them. And what do I mean by developing those weaknesses? You develop them by things that you have not yet understand, things that you have not yet walk into, things that you may just not yet apply yourself to. Seek it out. Seek out this weakness that I have, these flaws or these challenges that I face. How can I be better, or how can I not just see them as weaknesses, but how can I make them into strengths? And by that, what I mean is, for example, one of the things that I was asked about some self-actualization, and because I did not understand at all what was being asked at all, I actually got like a booklet or something like that to read through and some questions to ask myself and stuff like that. And it was a weakness I had in the sense that I did not have comprehension. I just could not comprehend what I was being asked. And initially I saw it as something that was being thrown at me, like I was being provoked or something. But later down the line, I think it took me about 2 years to understand what I was being asked. Yeah. And I thank the individual, because what that individual was doing for me was something great, but because I did not comprehend it, I lost sight and focus and started comparing myself to other people who were already blooming. And because of that, I built on those weaknesses by sitting with myself, sitting in with God, and just trying to figure out what is this all about. And because of all that, here I am today, much better in comprehending certain things than I was a few years ago. And I'm sharing this because I want you to win. I want you to walk out victorious. I want you to overcome. I want you to see that you are worth great value. I want you to recognize that you can press toward the higher calling. I want you to learn to not look to your left or to your right. Like the scripture says in Proverbs chapter 4 verses 25 to 27. I just want to quickly read that from the Amplified version before I close. And what it says is, let your eyes look directly ahead toward the path of moral courage, and let your gaze be fixed straight in front of you toward the path of integrity. Consider well and watch carefully the path of your feet, and all your ways will be steadfast and sure. Do not turn away to the right nor to the left, where evil may lurk. Turn your foot from the path of evil. And this scripture verses is very powerful. It is telling us to be steadfast, be focused. Try not to be all over the place. Try not to be focusing so much on what everyone else is doing, on how they're advancing, how they're blooming. Why am I not at the level that they're at? We're not all meant to be at the same pace, the same level, at the same time. But don't forget, when you would have advanced to the next level, to the next stage, to the next dimension, don't forget to look for someone to help. Don't forget to share your story so that you can encourage and inspire someone, to let them know they don't have to settle for less. They don't have to struggle always. There is always a better way and a brighter day. There is always a way that is made clear for them. But they should put their trust wholly in the Lord, who directs all our steps. And the God who, when we acknowledge Him and we lean not unto our own understanding, He will direct our path. I pray today that this message will find you. It will find you if you're in a place of darkness and a place of uncertainty, if you're in a place of unsurety, if you're in a place of insecurity, if you're in a place where you feel intimidated, if you're in a place where you're feeling doubtful or even fearful, if you're in a place where you're just not knowing how to, why, where, when, I pray that the light of God will shine upon you. I pray today that the light of God, which is the Word, the Lord Jesus Christ, that you will make Him the lamp and the light unto your feet and your pathway. I pray today that you'll recognize that there is so much worth and value upon you that you will arise and shine because your light has come. I pray that today you, that woman of worth, will surround yourselves with the people who will see great value and will encourage you, will provoke you to the point where you will see too what they see in you. They see something of value upon you and want to help you, and you will not despise their help. And so I pray today also that you will learn to be gentle upon yourself, and that you will learn to love yourself, be kind to yourself, and recognize that you too are worthy of God's love. I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Shalom. Bye-bye. See you soon.